Amy says,
Agatha, Mary, come! The clock has stopped in the dark.
And Agatha and Mary exit, and Warburton enters and says, well, it's a filthy night to be out in. That's why I've been so long going and coming. But I'm glad to say that John is getting on nicely. It wasn't so serious as Winchell made out. And we'll have him up here in the morning. I hope Lady Monchensi hasn't been worrying. I'm anxious to relieve her mind. Why? What's the trouble? And Mary enters and says, Dr. Warburton. Warburton says, excuse me. And Mary and Warburton exit. And the chorus. I have no idea what tone these choruses would be in, but we do not like to look out of the same window and see quite a different landscape. We do not like to climb a stair and find that it takes us down. We do not like to walk out of the door and find ourselves back in the same room. We do not like the maze in the garden because it too closely resembles the maze in the brain. We do not like what happens when we are awake because it too closely resembles what happens when we are asleep. We understand the ordinary business of living. We know how to work the machine. We can usually avoid accidents. We are insured against fire, against larceny and illness, against defective plumbing. We do not, but not against the act of God. We know various spells and enchantments and minor forms of sorcery, divination and chiromancy, specifics against insomnia, lumbago, and the loss of money. But the circle of our understanding is a very restricted area, except for a limited number of strictly practical purposes. We do not know what we are doing, and even when you think of it, we do not know much about thinking. What is happening outside of the circle, and what is the meaning of the happening? What ambush lies beyond the heather, and behind the standing stones, beyond the heaviside layer, and behind the smiling moon, and what is being done to us? And what are we and what are we doing to each and all these questions? There is no conceivable answer. We have suffered far more than a personal loss. We have lost our way in the dark. And Ivy says, I shall have to stay till after the funeral. Will my ticket to London still be valid? Gerald says, I do not look forward with pleasure to dealing with Arthur and John in the morning. Violet says, we must wait for the will to be read. I shall send a wire in the morning. Charles says, I fear that my mind is not what it was. Or was it? And yet I think I might understand. And all say, but we must adjust ourselves to the moment. We must do the right thing. And they exit and enter from one door. Agatha, Mary, and set a small portion table. A small portable table from another door. And Denman enters carrying a birth cake with lighted candles, which he sets on the table. And Denman and Agatha exit, and Mary walks slowly in a single file round and around the table clockwise. At each revolution, they blow out a few candles so that their last words are spoken in the dark. And of course, clockwise is a symbolic way of saying, active. And Agatha says, a curse is slow in coming to complete fruition. It cannot be hurried, and it cannot be delayed, Mary says. It cannot be diverted. An attempt to divert it only implicates others. At the day of consummation, Agatha says, a curse is a power, not subject to reason. Each curse has its course, its own way of expiation. Follow, follow, Mary says, not in the daytime, and in the hither world, where we know what we are doing. There is not its operation. Follow, follow, Agatha says, but in the nighttime, and in the netherworld, where the meshes we have woven bind us to each other. Follow, follow, Mary says. A curse is written on the underside of things, behind the smiling mirror, and behind the smiling moon. Follow, follow, Agatha says. This way, the pilgrimage of expiation, round and round the circle, completing the charm, so the knot be unknotted, the cross be uncrossed, the crooked be made straight, and the curse be ended by intercession, by pilgrimage, by those who depart in several directions, for their own redemption and that of the departed. May they rest in peace. I totally think based on that they're... Now, you can't say, well, I know the magic secret because I have read this book or I heard this in a song, but let's not pretend that stuff like that is not put into things like that, and no, I'm not gathering herbs for curses, I'm gathering herbs. I'm gathering mullein for winter.